And hello, everyone. Thank you guys so much for checking out today's episode of Hardball Sports Talk. My name is Brandon, and joining me, like always, is my good friend Alex. Alex, how are you today?
Boy, Brendan, I survived the solar eclipse, by the way. I know we didn't talk about that pre-show, but I survived it.
Well, I was it was going on, and I don't live anywhere near the main path, like so. It was a cloudy day here too, because it's Michigan. It's always a cloudy day.
Right.
So my wife is outside on our porch, looking at it, all excited with her cereal box, like looking like a nerd and stuff like that. And
Yep.
I'm sitting on the table playing Stratomatic, and she goes, "Are you gonna come over here and look at this?" I go, "No, I'm playing here." And she goes, "Why not?" I'm like, "It's not gonna be that impressive. It's a cloudy day. We don't live anywhere near where this thing's gonna be major. I ain't wasting my time." Yeah, I went out there for a second
Yeah,
to
I think.
humor her, and I don't know if I sent you the Snapchat or not, but I ended up locking the door on her just for kicks and giggles.
Yeah, well, she probably deserved it. We were in like the 90%. So it basically what it reminded me of is how you have those real sunny days and then like a thunderstorm comes in, so it kind of gets like a little, I don't know, like white grayish eerie type feeling.
Yeah,
That's basically what it was.
we have a friend, you know him too. He's got a child in the University of Michigan hospital right now, and he ended up traveling to a state that I will not be naming on air because I don't believe in using these words. And he went down there, and he said he went. They stopped at a Chick-fil-A, and the Chick-fil-A workers were handing out glasses so people could watch the eclipse in their parking lot. So he said he watched it with a bunch of Chick-fil-A employees. He said it was really
Hey,
cool because they were in that one state where in the state in that area. The entire thing was like one of the hot spots for it, so he was able to see
yeah,
it pretty
yeah,
well. So
that's pretty sweet.
yeah. But we are not here to talk about the solar eclipse or the potential end of the world that comes with it. By the way, we survived the Mayans. We'll survive this, guys, so don't worry about it. But we are here to talk about baseball, and we're going to give our predictions a week and a half late, but they're here nonetheless. There's a couple of scheduling issues that's 100% my fault, but it works out nicely because there's been a couple of injuries that have impacted, I think, how we would vote for this or pick this.
Yes, I will say my Cy Young pick kind of got crushed, so I had to do a little bit more research, but
Yep.
we'll get to there.
Yeah. Yeah. The Cy Young favorite for the National League, Spencer Strider, is out for the season with Tommy John surgery. It's a very big blow for the Braves. And then also for the Guardians, Shane Bieber is also out with Tommy John surgery. I was on TikTok earlier today. I kind of want to go on this rabbit trail. And I saw a video with Ben Verlander, who is Justin's younger brother. He actually spent some time in the Tiger system. Somebody asked him what he thinks is the reason for all these Tommy John surgeries. And he said, everyone's trying to pitch as hard as they can, as often as they can. And 10, 15 years ago, guys were only throwing 92, 93. Now everyone can pitch 100. It's just, not natural for your body to go 100% like that all the time. You look at JV, for example, he could throw 100 when he needed to, but he never did it full time. Like he had it in his back pocket, but he lived at 92, 93 and just learned how to pitch instead of throwing it too hard. I think there is something to that. I think, just learn to pitch and not rely so much on throwing as hard as you can. Uh, that's just my personal opinion. But I am not a doctor. I'm not a baseball coach. I just think there's correlation to that, though. But we are not here to talk about the Cy Young quite yet. The first thing we're going to talk about is Rookie of the Year. So what we're going to do is we're going to give our AL and NL pick for each of these awards. You can go first. Who is your American League Rookie of the Year? And by the way, before we get started, I have not told Alex mine, and he has not told me his. So if any of these match, I'm sorry. We did not try it. I promise.
Just like we said all along, when we were doing our division breakdowns. We did not find out until we were live. My rookie of the year, not not really surprised to some people, maybe some. But I actually have Jackson Holiday making the rookie of the year. winning it all. Obviously right now he's in AAA, but I don't think it'll be too long before he's called up.
No, he's killing the ball in AAA right now.
So I have
That,
him the rookie of the year for the American League.
my rookie of the year, I think he's going to hit the ball hard all season long. He's had a slow start so far, but I think he's going to pick it up here shortly. And he plays for a team that I think has high expectations this year, and that is Wyatt Langford. I think he's going to, that's my pick for rookie of the year for the American League. For the National League, I have that pitcher from the Dodgers. In my note, I just have Yoshi because I didn't even bother trying to figure out his name because we struggled with it.
That would be Yoshi Yamamoto.
Yomamoto.
And I also have him winning the rookie of the year despite the rough two games I think he's pitched.
So he's pitched in 3. The first one in Korea, and it didn't go so well.
Yeah.
But I think his last 2 starts have been a lot better.
Okay. I haven't been paying too much attention to him. But yeah, I also have him winning the rookie of the year for the NL.
Yeah, I don't really know a whole lot about the rookies for most of the teams besides really the Tigers. And like I said in our hot take, I think Colt Keith gets some votes, but I don't think he's winning it. So for the Cy Young, I'll let you go first for the American League here.
The American League, if this guy stays healthy, and I am not biased at all.
Oh no, we have the same person.
Tariq Skubal is winning the Cy Young this year. Just the based on, and obviously, for those that don't know and probably do know, we are Detroit fans, and I would say the way that Skubal was pitched the first 2 games has been very impressive, especially coming off an injury from last year. I just like what I see. Obviously, I haven't watched too many other pitchers because times rained out, all that stuff around the league. But I have Skubal winning the Cy Young.
I also have Skubal winning the Cy Young, and it's not because I'm a Tigers fan. There is some biasness, I guess, in it. But my reasoning with it is actually, if you go on FanDuel, which is because of some of these I really didn't like, the NL, for example, after the injury to Strader, I'm like, who the heck do I pick for the NL? So I went on FanDuel just to check the odds, just to see names that are being suggested. But Skubal was actually the second favorite according to FanDuel. So it's not like it's a homer pick. Like there's legitimate chance he wins the Cy Young. But my reasoning behind it was if you look at the American League Central, I mean, we talked about it when we did the preview, it's not a good division. And I mean, if you just look at the hitting so far in this division, nobody can hit the ball. There's no hitting going on whatsoever in the American League Central right now. And I know they play the division less because they're playing everybody in baseball, but you're still playing a good chunk of your games against your division. So therefore, the competition level, I think if he doesn't have bad games against the AL East, I think he's got a legit chance of winning the Cy Young. For the NL, I have Zach Wheeler from Philadelphia. I think, he's the favorite right now after the injury to Strider. If it wasn't for that injury, I would honestly be sitting here telling you Spencer Strider, but that's just a big blow right there. So, yeah, Wheeler, though, very disturbing candidate here.
Yeah, Spencer Strider was my original Cy Young. Just again, what he's did last year and then his start this year. I'm gonna go with a little bit of a dark horse here. And I'm actually gonna go with this teammate, Max Fried. I think he's gonna step up in a big way. Obviously because Strider's down. I think he was maybe 5th or 6th, according to DraftKings or FanDuel, odds to win the NL Cy Young. So I actually am gonna have him carry his team and win that Cy Young.
Yeah, and with Cy Young, like you can sit here and basically give 4 different names, and it's probably not gonna be any of those 4 names.
Exactly.
So, I mean, for either American League or National League, like you could give us a list, and you're gonna be wrong. So The MVP, though, I think is a little bit easier to have a good guess for. In the American League, I have a dark horse candidate, and it actually ties in with a different answer I have for one of these predictions. This ties into my surprise team, so here's a little bit of spoiler for you if you know who he plays for. But my MVP is Julio Rodriguez, and I won't say who he plays for because I don't want to ruin my surprise team. But if I have this team as a surprise team, it's because Julio had a really good season and carried this team to limits that people were not expecting. So I think Julio has a really good season and carries his team into a postseason berth, or at least in the race for postseason.
It's a great pick, Brandon. I actually have probably an easy pick because I kind of copped out, and I have Juan Soto winning the MVP for the AL. Obviously, that Yankees team looks great on paper, but they've always struggled. But adding Juan Soto, I think, is really going to help them out. And obviously, he's going to be the most valuable player on the team. So I have Juan Soto winning it this year.
Yeah, I did. I like I said, I went on FanDuel. Not a sponsor, by the way. That's the book I use though, and they had Soto as the favorite. I'm like, I don't want to just sit here and say who the favorite is. I kind of want to, for some of these anyways, do a little bit of a dark horse.
Yeah.
And I like Rodriguez. I think he's
he's fun to watch too.
He is a fun watch. We're actually not going to do playoff teams. We're going to do surprise and disappointing teams first.
Actually, did you do your NL MVP or did we just kind of skip that?
Oh no, I did not. Yeah, sorry, we did skip it.
It's all
Good
right.
catch.
I only said that because mine kind of is a dark horse, but not really. I actually have Bryce Harper being the MVP of the NL. I think he's gonna. They're obviously in the same division as probably the best team in the East or in the NL. I mean, with the Braves. As long as Harper stays healthy, I think he's gonna do just fine with the team, and I think he'll actually lead them to a playoff berth.
I have my MVP in that division also, but I went with the best team in the division with the Braves, and I have Acuna Jr., one of the most exciting young players in this game today. Yeah, I think he's gonna have another great season and lead the Braves, and especially with this injury to Strider now, I think that just makes him more valuable. So that is why I picked him. Now we can go to surprise and disappointing teams. Sorry about that. Got a little too carried away there.
It's all right. It's fun. It's been it's been about a week since me and you've talked together.
Yeah, I did the show last week by myself when I talked about the Tigers, who on that episode we were not feeling a lot better about them than we are today. But that's baseball for you. I don't try to get too, and especially this early on.
Brandon, they've only played 9 games out of 162.
I know that's why I said it's baseball. Like you're gonna go through 6 games.
But you hear the people around here and you read it, and it's the end of the world. And
well, it is the end of the world, but not because of the Tigers. It's because of the apocalypse and the eclipse. Moving on. Surprise team. American League surprise team. I'll go first since I pretty much said it already. I have the Mariners. I don't know if they're a playoff team or not, but I think they're going to get a lot closer this year than people might be giving them credit for, especially with how competitive the AL East is. I don't think anybody's giving a lot of teams a chance. But I think the Mariners are going to have a really good year this year. I think they're going to be in the thick of it towards the end. But yeah, I like the Mariners. I think they're going to be a really fun team to watch this summer.
Yeah. I'm just going to say, I have the Mariners as well. Because I actually do have the Mariners as the surprise team. Again, we did not talk about any of this. Is it scary that we kind of think the same with sports?
But like, I think that's why we decided to do this show together. It's because like we don't agree completely on everything, but like we have the same beliefs.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you on that. But yeah, I have Seattle. I think I actually picked them to finish 3rd in their division, and I think that's a tougher division to pick. So yeah, I have Seattle as being a surprise team.
Let's stick in the American League. Who do you have as a disappointing team in the American League?
I actually have the Toronto Blue Jays as being a disappointed team. Let me guess, you have them as well.
Yes,
That
I
is
do.
hilarious. Oh my goodness. This team always seems to have the hype, with their young guys with Vladdy Jr., Bo Bichette, Springer, and all them. But again, I don't even think they've won one game in the playoffs since that, I guess you could call it, era started with those young guys leading the team. Yeah, I think there's going to be another disappointment again. But I'm hoping to prove wrong because I kind of enjoy watching them play.
I love the Blue Jays. Like, I think they have a lot of young players that are fun to watch. Like you said, Vladdy Jr., Bo Bichette, Calvin Biggio, to name a few. It's just they've always underperformed. Like everyone has all these high expectations for them, and they've underperformed. Well, now Baltimore is looking like the bully on the street. Like Baltimore, I think everyone's picking Baltimore to win this division, and their best players in AAA right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Like when Jackson Holiday gets up here, watch out! Like that team's just going to go on fire. And then the Yankees, like you said, they got uh, Juan Soto now in the mix, and then you got Juan Soto and Aaron Judge in your middle of your lineup. Like you're just,
right. Yeah,
and then even Tampa Bay, like in our predictions, we put Tampa Bay in fourth place. Tampa Bay is that one team that just never goes away. So
correct.
just process of elimination, I just had to put the Blue Jays because the rest of the division is just so good. It's like, a lot of people probably think the Blue Jays are a good team, and they are a good team, but they're going to be disappointing, I think.
Yeah, and it's sad because like we said, I enjoy watching them play. So
Yeah. Let's move to the National League now. A surprise team in the National League. I don't think
excuse me,
we'll.
sorry, I was choking over here, but we're good. I have the Cincinnati Reds as my surprise team. I know a lot of people actually picked them to win the division. I did not. But I think they're going to be right there. They got they got a lot of young guys, even in their minor leagues, that are going to be ready to play when the time comes. And from what I could tell, they're doing pretty good right now. So I have the Reds winning the surprise team of the year.
I am staying in that division, but a different team. After having Jake on, I became very convinced that the Brewers are a really good baseball team. So,
You mean the guy that picked them to win the division?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Jake, when he had him on for the show, he picked the Brewers to win. He's a diehard Brewers fan, so you got to take that with a grain of salt. But he made some really good points. So I actually kind of believe in the Brewers a little bit. I still don't think they're going to win the division or anything like that. I picked Cincinnati. I'm going to stay with that. But like we said in that episode, there are 4 teams in that division that can win it,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it's not like the AL Central where it's 4 teams because everyone's bad. It's 4 teams because there's 4 teams that are good enough.
Right.
Uh, and then my disappointing team in the National League. This isn't really much of a shock. I don't really know how many people have high expectations for this team. But after the slow start to the season and just the market they play in, I think that, can get to you, especially if you don't get off to a good start. And that is the New York Mets. They've just, I think, if they don't get things turned around, then, and if it's like being a contract here for Pete Alonso, uh, I think they're going to start pressing here pretty shortly if they don't get things figured out. And unfortunately, when you start pressing, then you play worse. So let's say they're not in this thing by June, July. Well, then they're probably going to have to trade Alonso. And then it really goes downhill. So I have the Mets as my disappointing team this year.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that too. Some people are going to question why I say this. And Brandon, you actually mentioned it before the show, but I didn't want to tell you. I actually have the Dodgers being the most disappointing team, because they are World Series favorite. They, I've said it all along. They have to win the World Series this year. I actually don't have them in the World Series this year. There's another teaser for you. Um, I think that just again probably the best talent on paper, but I don't see them winning the World Series as much as They probably should, but they're going to be the most disappointing team of the year.
See, I agree with you. I think we might be thinking the same thing for what team for the World Series. So we'll wait. I'll wait to talk about that till then, until we get to that point. But let's do a quick recap now of who we had winning each divisions. For the American League, I had the Twins, the Orioles, and the Astros winning divisions. Who did you have for those divisions?
I had the Twins, Orioles, and I had the Rangers winning
Okay,
their divisions.
and then in the National League, I had the Braves, Reds, and Dodgers, and I believe you had the Braves, Cubs, and Dodgers.
Yeah, that's correct. The Cubs. Yep.
Yep. So those by default, those teams are all playoff teams for us because if you win the division, you make the playoffs. It's that simple. Now there are 2 wild card teams, I believe. Maybe 3. Let me think.
You
Maybe
told
it's
me
either.
2.
I know, but now that I think about it, I think there's 6 teams, so there's 3 actually. Now that I think about it.
Oh, well, you're only going to
Yeah,
get 2 from me, so
and you're only gonna get 2 from me too. So because
it,
I googled it, there's 12, and I was thinking NFL because there's 4
mm,
divisions in the NFL. So we only have 2. So we're missing playoff teams for you guys.
yeah, sorry
So
about that.
yeah, that is completely on me for thinking NFL and not MLB. Wow, my math is really good right now.
It's all right. This is great for the podcast here. We're not going to give them, it's going to be a surprise.
Yeah.
Surprise for everyone.
So I guess then for the wild card of the American League, I wrote down the Yankees and the Rangers, and since I have the Mariners as my surprise team, I'll throw that one as my third team in there. So we got the Yankees, Rangers, and Mariners as the 3 wild card teams in the American League.
Yeah. For me, I have Houston Yankees, and I guess Seattle would be my surprise team for the American League.
And then in the National League, I have the Cubs, Brewers, and then I'll throw in the Phillies for my third team. If, like you said, Harper has a good year, I think that's a team that can make some noise and make it to the playoffs.
I have the Phillies and Reds as the 2 wildcard teams. My surprise team would be the Reds, but I can't remember any other places that I put people
Yeah,
because we did it so long ago. So it's going to be a surprise for everyone. And I will tell you that sometime in October of the
there we
third
go.
surprise team. There we go.
There we go. So the World Series, who do you have in the American League in the World Series and why?
I actually have the Baltimore Orioles in the World Series. A lot of people probably don't have them. I really like their best players in AAA right now. It'd be a matter of time before he gets called up. I think that's going to help him with this young core, being able to hit the ball, run, speed, defense, all that against teams. And then the trade that they made to get acquire a Cy Young candidate / previous winner and Corbin Burns too, just to add to that rotation. I think they're gonna end up beating these teams and making it to the World Series.
My American League team is the Houston Astros. They've been there, they've done that, they have the experience, and they've had this young pitcher. His name escapes me right now, but he threw a no hitter last week, and then last night he went 6 scoreless, hitless innings. So he's basically asking for no hitters both times out there. So that's and then you got Verlander coming back at some point. The rotation is the strength of that team. And if you have a pitching rotation, and they all stay healthy, you can make noise in the playoffs. Pitching is what wins championships. So just because I think they have one of the best rotations in baseball, I take the Astros. For the National League, I wanted to pick the Braves. That was the team I was going to go with. But this news with Spencer Strider, that's a big blow. And yeah, they have enough pieces to recover, I think. But I think that puts the Dodgers above them. So I put the Dodgers to make the World Series just because I think if the Braves were completely healthy the whole season with Spencer Strider, I'd pick them no question. But that's a big blow. And the Dodgers having, by the time we get to the playoffs, Kershaw will be back. You got Yamamoto. He's pitching really well the last couple of games. The offense has been clicking so far. So obviously it's only a week into the season, so I don't want to overreact to a week of baseball. But like these are also guys, the back of their baseball cards, except for Yoshi, but the back of these guys' baseball cards is what they do. Like you can only judge them by past. And it's kind of like when I was talking about with the Tigers last week. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rabbit trail. The stuff that frustrates me with the Tigers the most is the stuff that issues all of last year. And that's why it frustrates me this year, because it's like they didn't learn. And that's kind of why I'm picking the Dodgers here, because the back of their baseball cards are impressive. And so now that they're clearly the favorite with the injuries in Atlanta, that's why I'm picking the Dodgers here.
I'm actually gonna stick with the Braves here. I just like their whole team. Yeah, Strider is definitely a big loss too. Those guys are gonna have to step up. And this happens to all the teams. I think they're gonna have a surprise guy on their minor league team that's gonna come up and fill that role for them to help them, win the division, and help them get into the World Series to face the Orioles. But I just like their team that they have. Acuna Jr. is fun to watch. You got Matt Olson there still, I believe, and he had a great last year too. Acuna with all the steals and stuff. I think it's going to be the Orioles and Braves in the World Series.
And one thing, obviously, that we haven't taken into account because you can't, but there's going to be teams, for example, I don't know. I can't think of anybody that we know. Well, Oakland, for example. Oakland, we're not expecting much of. I don't know what Oakland's roster looks like, but if they have a pitcher with a year or two of control, a team like the Braves, that if they like that pitcher, they'd be calling Oakland or whatever fill in the blank team.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, can we have them? Obviously, it's a trade, and they're not going to just give them away. But
well, it's Oakland, so I mean,
yeah, that is true. They're not trying their best to win,
or even have a baseball team in their own stadium. But that's a different story.
Do we want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, I think we can. We're only at 27 minutes. I think we should let Brandon. Do you want to go into your rant, Brandon?
I kind of want to. I kind of want to, but I don't really know if I have a rant in me about this because I don't know. Let's go ahead. Let's do a little rant here.
All right, here we go. Brandon, I'm going to give you the floor here.
You know what really grinds my gears?
So you know what grinds my gears today is these owners who think they know everything, and then they go out and buy these teams, and they basically run them into the ground. They don't update their stadiums, and then they go to the cities and say, hey, we want a new stadium. And the cities actually bend over backwards to get this team a new stadium. Like Oakland had a really great offer for a new ballpark. Like I saw drawings of it. It was a great ballpark. It was right on the water. It was kind of like how Detroit has things where there's like restaurants and housing and stuff like that. Like it was a whole area that they were going to build for the Athletics. And Oakland goes, nah, we're good. We'll just move to Vegas. The issue is Vegas never really said they wanted them either. So now Oakland is literally leaving the Coliseum this year, which, by the way, the Coliseum is a dump. Like, that is why nobody goes to those games, because that place is an absolute garbage disposal. Like, it's just an ugly ballpark. It hasn't been updated in years. It's just bad. So I agree with that. The fans don't need to be going to that stadium because it's just not a good stadium. But ownership has not put a product out there for anybody to be proud of. If you look at their minor leaguers, there's no talent in their system. Like, they don't have these prospects like a Jackson Holiday or anybody like that. Like, it's just their minor system is weak. There's really not a whole lot of talent in the big league system. And the talent they have, by the way, I talked about this on last week's episode. They demote the one player on their team that's batting 400 to AAA because he doesn't walk enough. The guy is hitting 400, and I understand it's a week of baseball, so like I don't want to react to a week of stats, But like a guy has a good week in Major League Baseball and then you demote him. Makes no sense to me. And again, I don't want to overreact to a week of stats, but I will overreact to a demotion that makes zero sense to me. And especially the one reason was because he doesn't walk. Well, yeah, but he's hitting that a 400 pace. Like, obviously, he's not going to keep that up all season. I'm not stupid. But come on, really? And then I go on their Facebook page because I kind of want to see what people's reaction is to this. Their Facebook and Instagram pages for the Oakland Athletics, you cannot leave comments on. They have literally turned off comments for every one of their posts. I went back probably 6 months of posts, and they're all comments disabled for both Instagram and Facebook. It's like they don't care about the fans. And then the players are like kind of on the fan side too. Like there's players who are like, yeah, we want to stay in Oakland, but they can't say that because they'll get demoted, which by the way, there's theories out there. That's why the one guy got demoted after hitting 400 because he wore a bracelet in support. I don't believe that's true. But I guess there's a chance that could be true. But yeah, it's just a sad situation. They're going to be playing in Sacramento for the next 3 or 4 years at a ballpark that holds a whopping 12,000 people. By the way, the average MLB ballpark holds roughly about 40,000 people. So you're going from, 40,000 to 12,000, basically a quarter or a quarter of the size. So I don't know. It's just an ugly, sad situation for everybody involved. I feel bad for the city of Oakland. They deserve better than this. They've lost the Raiders, the Warriors, and now the Athletics. And by the way, this is not the first time the Athletics have moved. They're actually one of the most traveled teams in professional sports. They started in Philadelphia and then started making their way west very slowly. They made stops in Kansas City. There's one other stop too. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, but they moved 3 or 4 times before they ended up in Oakland. So now they're going to Sacramento technically, and they won't even be the Sacramento A's. They'll just be the A's. Like they're not even taking on the city name. They're just going to call themselves the Athletics. So it's a sad situation. Vegas gets another team, which the only reason they've ever had any success with the Golden Knights fan base is because Bettman handed them a Stanley Cup. But that's a conversation for a different day. I don't really want to go into that right now. But yeah, there's no guarantee that the ball team will do any better in Las Vegas. And I don't really consider Las Vegas a sports town because I consider it a tourist town where you're going to get more fan bases from other teams going to your ballpark than your own team. So there's going to be no home field advantage. I really believe that for a Las Vegas team. And so far, now the Raiders have kind of proved me wrong. But yeah, I just think, overall, Las Vegas is not going to be a great sports market in the long term. I could be wrong on that, but I just don't think it's a good sports market long term. So you can take this Brandon rant. I'm kind of cooled off now. You can take that off. But yeah, it's just frustrating. And then you want to be I actually like Oakland. Like I the team I feared not the most, but the Tigers had really good rivalries with the A's back when we were in the playoffs. It was always us, Oakland, and New York. I always felt like we always played Oakland, then New York in the playoffs.
Did you see that stat that they put up? I'm guessing it was game 3. I didn't see it, but I heard about it this morning on local radio. We have not beat them in a home series since 2016, I think.
I believe that. Oakland is that one team because they were talking about it either on Saturdays or Sunday's broadcast. They took 2 out of 3 against Atlanta last year.
Yeah.
They're not a good team, but they're a scrappy team.
Right. It kind of blows my mind that one of the worst teams in baseball has another. Maybe they should just move to Detroit because they obviously win in Detroit, all the time. So,
but you said 2016.
I think so. I think that's what they've won the past. I think 14 out of 17 series at home.
So if you want
Detroit's home, so
2017, I think, is the year that we traded JV. So let's assume, I don't know when they came, but let's assume it was after that for conversation's sake. You kind of lose your heart for that season. And then Avila Which, by the way, I got into a Facebook argument with somebody over Violet the other day. I should stop commenting stuff on Facebook. I really should.
You probably should.
This is so stupid, some of the stuff people post. That's why I started a podcast, partly so I can respond to the people without actually talking to them.
That's great, Brandon. That's great.
But the one guy goes, he was talking, we should probably wrap this up here shortly, but the one guy was complaining about the Tigers and how analytics is ruining baseball and all these nerds who never played a game of baseball in their life are taking over the league and how it's bad. And I commented back, I go, you understand, like every front office looks the same right now. Like the Dodgers literally front office is a bunch of stat nerds, like the Tigers front office, and so is the Tampa Bay and Boston, the Cubs. Like Theo Epstein, for example, is one of these. Actually, the guys that the Tigers have right now both worked under Theo Epstein in Chicago.
Yeah.
So it's just the way of baseball now. And yeah, so far it hasn't worked so well for the Tigers for the last couple of years. But, and then the ironic part, this guy was complaining about these players, like the Tigers players. And then when he commented back at me, he goes, "Oh, look at all the players that Vila drafted." And I'm like, dude, you were just complaining about these same exact players, like your last post. I didn't comment back because I didn't want to go back and forth with him. But yeah. Yeah. So this week I'll talk to Alex because I know his bowling is done, but I know he's got softball coming up here shortly. So we'll have a schedule change here coming up shortly. We'll keep you guys posted on that. But at some point this week, I'll do my weekly Tiger show. Just basically respond to the games of this week. So far, it hasn't been the greatest of weeks, but that's, like I said, baseball. You can go through stretches. Say things I like about this team from this week, things I don't like, and we'll preview the upcoming games too for next week. Thank you guys so much for checking us out.
Before we end it, sorry. Tonight is the national championship game for the men's.
Oh tournament. Yeah, I was looking at that too because I was curious on who's winning in our group right now.
Yes.
And so there are two people who have a legitimate chance of. Actually, I think it's down to two people for winning. If Purdue wins, Ike wins. Ike, he listens to the show every episode. So if Purdue wins this game, Ike wins. If Connecticut wins, your mother wins.
Yeah,
that's how I understand it. Looked at.
I was trying to see
because I think
how many points it's worth.
Because I looked at the max points.
Okay.
And everybody between Ike and your mom all picked Connecticut, so they're not going to make any ground on your mom, who picked Connecticut to win. But Duke or Ike picked Purdue to win. So it's basically between Ike and your mom, and whoever wins will get you guys a gift card for someplace or some Hardball Sports merch. We'll hook you guys up with something here. But yeah, thank you guys so much for checking us out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will talk to you guys later sometime this week. If you guys haven't yet, like us on Facebook. Link for that is in the description of the Spotify. Or actually, we're live streaming only on Facebook and Twitch right now. I'm changing things up a little bit. So thank you so much if you're checking us out on the Facebook. Be sure to like us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Look up Hardball Sports Talk. Also on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. I hope you guys have a great day. And hopefully the Tigers can turn this little losing streak around. It's kind of sad to watch.